Mental overload, rigidity, and frustration may result in explosive outbursts and drama on November 10th, 11th, 3 days before, 3 days after, as Mercury squares Saturn and Mars opposes Uranus. It's a hot and dangerous combination, so let's talk about navigating it with as much ease as possible and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you like my work, please support me by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. It helps my channel grow. You can also say thank you by buying me a coffee. And if you ever want to work with me, if you have important questions, you can book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a Scorpio season special. Details and coupon codes down below. But basically, if you are a Scorpio sun, you can get 20% off natal, which are more general, and solar return readings, which are more predictive. And before we talk about these transits, I have been working on an astrology planner for 2024, and it has arrived. It is on sale right now, and it is full of astrological information to help you navigate the year. It has calendars, it has best dates, retrograde dates, transits, lunar guides, journaling pages, insights into the month ahead. It is full of information that will make your life easier in 2024. Check out the link down below or visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, to pick up yours. So this energy that we're going to talk about, it's quite frustrating, right? Luckily, this week we also have Venus entering Libra, and there is some soothing energy, but anywhere from like late Tuesday on November 7th until Tuesday, November 14th, we are going to feel some frustration. And let's talk about the sequence of events, right? So Mercury enters Sagittarius on Friday, November 10th, and immediately squares Saturn. Mercury in Sag is considered to be in its detriment, and that means that Sagittarius is driven by grand ideals, and Mercury is the planet of little details. And when you're too focused on the grand ideal, you can forget about the little details. So Sagittarian Mercury people tend to be people who can like talk a lot and with passion, but maybe don't always sort of follow through or see the limits that the intellect of Mercury can put on it. Doesn't mean they're not smart people. Plenty of intelligent people have Mercury in Sagittarius, but there's just that kind of careful, analytical quality of Mercury that may struggle in Sagittarius. So Mercury in Sag is optimistic, right? Don't worry too much about the detriment because it has a lot of good qualities, right? It's optimistic, it's idealistic, it's adventurous and blunt in a way, right? Very direct. So we're getting that energy for a while until December 1st. It's very kind of focused on ideals and also very focused to achieve dreams. The fact that it squares Saturn on Friday, November 10th, is like your ideals getting smashed, or your restless spirit. Like Sag would be a student in school that like runs around naked, and Saturn would be the principal, right? So this is like that student about to go run around naked or do some kind of mischievous thing, and the principal catches them. So you run into like tests of communication. Mercury's communication, transportation, it's commerce. So Mercury squaring Saturn can bring glitches to technology, can bring issues and strains on communication. It can bring rigidity, right? Like Mercury in Sag can be too focused on the idea to a point that it's unable to be flexible. So be careful of like being too zealous, be careful of being too conservative, and too stuck on an idea to a point that you don't see that there is other possibilities. But there's also, like I said, there can also be mental overload where you're solving problems. Like if you knew how much went into getting this on sale. I'm a little bit nervous of this transit just because I'm currently like, ordering and shipping planners. So hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully, Venus overpowers it all, or like there's, you and me, we shouldn't be scared of this transit because it's a delay. It's not a forever no. That's what Saturn tends to do. It means that you have to recommit. It means that you have to have some tough conversations, make some serious decisions. Maybe your book that you've been writing comes back with a bunch of edits, or the project you've been working on returns, or a client asks for a refund. So something that perhaps stops you in your tracks is an invitation to re-strategize and to come up with a different idea. What makes it more complicated is that at the same time, we also have Mars opposite Uranus building up. And that is exact on Saturday, November 11th. But you feel it between November 7th and November 15th or 14th. Mars opposite Uranus is not chill. Mars opposite Uranus is explosive. It's dramatic, it's rash, and it's violent in its worst shape and form. So do not go fighting with people. Do not get into fights in the mail, in the UPS office, right? I had this angry lady be mean to me once, and my boyfriend stood up for me, which was the highlight of our relationship, or one of the coolest moments, basically. But this could be, like a road rage, dealing with conflicts because you're getting that no, or you're getting that delay, or you're getting someone disagreeing with you, something you're feeling strongly about gets rejected. And we also have Mars opposing Uranus at the same time, and it's really hard to control it. So attacks on your character, conflicts, sudden outbursts, road rage, getting into physical fight with someone is a possibility, so be careful. There might be some like shocking element with Mars Uranus, whether that means you're saying something shocking or somebody else is revealing things, and maybe it's just what you need to move forward, right? This could be quite an eye-opening transit, but be careful of, like I said, getting into fights. Be careful of driving too fast, rushing places, because like slipping and falling is more easy at this time. And don't do like any crazy experiments where you can, get electrocuted or something. To give you some degrees, so Mercury squares Saturn between November 10th and 12th at 0 degrees. Sag and Pisces, so this will affect the most people with placements between 0 to 2 degrees mutable. And that is Pisces, Virgo, Sag, and Gemini. And Mars opposes Uranus at 21 degrees. So Mars is at 21 Scorpio, Uranus is at 21 Taurus. So this will be felt the most if you have placements from 18 to 24 degrees, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo. That would give you some guides to where you should worry about it too much, right? If you don't have any important points or angles right there, you might still feel frustration, but it's not necessarily going to be as explosive for you. What's important here too is that this is not just 10th, 11th, right? Like I said, the Mars opposite Uranus begins around November 7th. And then all of this leads into the new moon on Monday, November 13th, which opposes Uranus. So the new moon itself will be conjunct Mars opposite Uranus. So it's still kind of electric, rebellious, shocking, eye-opening, boiling point type energy. And then the frustration gets also repeated later in the month between November 22nd, 26th as the Sun and Mars enter Sagittarius and square Saturn as well. So keep in mind that it's like a longer story we're dealing with, and the problem solving, the delays, the roadblocks will keep coming. Keep bringing them our way, life. So let's talk about the 12 signs and see just sort of like quick tips on where the frustrations can be coming from and where the tensions will show up for you. And please let me know how this resonates. And one more mention to my planner. This is like, transits like this are mentioned in here. And you can know when some squares or oppositions are coming and which days are more difficult. Okay, so if you are an Aries rising, Mercury enters your 9th house and squares Saturn in the 12th. And I see this as like mental health challenges. I see this as things out of your control, past wounds, hidden enemies, or you yourself somehow affecting legal matters, education, travel, and publishing related matters. So, maybe something falls through, something like you're waiting on a legal case to sort of finish, but it's not, or maybe your trip gets delayed. There's some kind of restriction on your freedom. And then we also have Mars in the 8th opposite Uranus in the 2nd, and this really sort of triggers any kind of financial debates or conflicts, right? Like maybe the trip falls through and you get really upset with your partner for not checking something, or you get really angry at the ex that is not paying you child support, right? And you sort of like yell at them, or they yell at you. So beware of these like tensions around money, values, agreements with others, conflicts around give and take dynamics. Try to be patient and try to resolve problems without pointing fingers and screaming. For Taurus risings, Mercury enters your 8th house and it squares Saturn in the 11th. So Mercury in the 8th house would want to pay off debts. It would want to start partnerships, to maybe kind of come to some kind of agreement. And the square to Saturn in the 11th is either an authority figure that is not allowing you to do it. There could be a friend that is maybe being too contentious and sort of not allowing you to come to an agreement, right? There might be some kind of tension between your vision of the future and somebody else's vision of the future, or your vision of the future and the money you have available or resources you have available. So to me, this reads like a test of commitment, and I will encourage you to like recommit to the plan, to paying off debt, to saving money, to healing, or whatever you are working on. And be careful of romantic tensions and conflicts in your relationship, because right at this time we also have Mars in your 7th opposing Uranus in the 1st, and here it's like your freedom can affect the relationship, or your need for freedom will trigger your partner potentially. So this, I think, like the Mercury square Saturn, this restriction that you're dealing with connected to your dreams, to your future plans, to, maybe you want to get pregnant, and maybe your partner is saying we should wait or something, and you feel like you no longer want to wait. So there could be like a conflict connected to that. Let me know how this resonates down below, and, be careful navigating it. If you are a Gemini rising, Mercury enters your 7th on November 10th and squares Saturn. So this is tension between your relation. It's sort of like pressure that is placed on your relationships, on your partnerships and contracts and agreements with others that comes from work. Whether that is a boss that is wanting you to work late, or it's a lack of a job, or it's some other kind of tension that is connected to your future professionally that is affecting your romantic life or affecting your partnership. Maybe you're about to start a business, but you're not able to let go of a job that you already have. And then Mars in the 6th opposes Uranus in the 12th. So that is very much like stresses that are placed on you, kind of calling a breakdown, right? I could really see this as like a physical breakdown where you catch a cold or something, or you get in a fight with your boss, or they kind of say something to you that is really upsetting or shocking, affecting your work. So try to stay flexible, try to stay patient, try to find ways to maybe change your everyday life and change your routine so you have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more flexibility. If you are a Cancer rising, Mercury is entering your 6th house and squaring Saturn in the 9th. And here you're dealing with pressures connected to travel, education, legal matters, writing, law, which is legal matters. But yeah, writing, publishing, affecting your health or affecting your work. You know, like if we're talking about like travel affecting work, maybe you are being sent somewhere or your boss is like telling you to go travel somewhere to solve a problem, right? Or you're dealing with international connections and you're waiting for them to send you the paper that you have requested a long time, and they're taking that time, and it sort of gets frustrating. Or there could be some kind of, you know, that some kind of document you're writing, like your dissertation, or waiting to hear from an admissions office to a university. And so having to sort of rewrite, redo, fix, wait, problem solve is highly likely here. And then you also, of course, have the frustrating Mars-Uranus opposition between your 5th and 11th. And this can bring breakthroughs or changes connected to your dreams, some kind of new opportunities that are affecting your life. And maybe with the 5th house, they're at odds with your relationship, or they're at odds with you being a parent. So there could be some kind of like explosion romantically or explosion professionally, just because of how much is weighing on you. So be careful and stay flexible at this time. If you are a Leo rising, Mercury enters your 5th house, squares Saturn in the 8th. Mercury in the 5th would want to date, it would want to create, it would want to explore fun ideas. And then it squares Saturn in the 8th, which suggests pressure is connected to resources, perhaps not having the right resources, perhaps needing to be mindful of the mortgage you're paying or the debt you're handling. So you're getting some kind of like red light on going on a date, on becoming a parent, on pursuing your creative project. And then at the same time, there is also tension between work and family, because Mars in the 4th house is opposing Uranus in the 10th. So the Uranus and the 10th thing together with the money problems is interesting, because it could bring some kind of unique development professionally, right? Like you get an offer that maybe doesn't pay well, but can help you pursue a writing career, and you decide to take it, and that spirals into your relationship, so that now your partner needs to pay rent fully, and it causes some kind of ripple effect. I can also see just like conflicts with family members, conflicts surrounding family, and the resources you have or the resources you share with them. Be ready to be flexible. That's definitely, you know, the lesson here. Stay as flexible as possible. And find ways, I think, to balance your work life and your professional life. Do not necessarily make super reckless decisions. It's better to proceed carefully. If you are a Virgo rising, Mercury enters your 4th house and squares Saturn in the 7th. So here you're dealing with pressures related to relationships and business affecting your home, family, and living situation. For example, your partner is struggling and they cannot help you pay mortgage, right? Or your partner wants to move in together, but you live with your mom who needs care. So there is some kind of, you know, like Mercury in the 4th might want to spend more time with family, but Saturn in the 7th is suggesting that your partner is needing you, or the question of relationship is just weighing on you, not letting you have as good of a time as possible. And then at the same time, we also have Mars in the 3rd opposing Uranus in the 9th. So some kind of like ideological disagreements coming to the surface, bursting into the open, right? Like, I believe that I'm supposed to take care of my ailing parent, but my partner thinks that we can just live together and hire someone to take care of her, right? So some kind of like disagreement surrounding your beliefs, surrounding education, surrounding publishing, writing. It could be a very separate issue that kind of sends you over the edge or, frustrates you a lot. So be careful at this time and avoid letting things boil out of control. If you are a Libra rising, Mercury enters your third house, which is the place of communication, writing, siblings, neighbors. Might be the time when you're having more ideas, you're looking to communicate more, but it immediately squares Saturn in the 6th, which is suggestive of duties you have. Maybe you have a sick child. Maybe you have a work project that is sort of eating up all of your time. Saturn in the 6th is like a lot of pressures connected to work, something you have to problem solve, like you were ready to start a blog, but then your website fails and you need to take a step back. Very much like needing to slow down, needing to recommit, needing to make difficult decisions, or like re-edit something technical or re-edit a writing project. And then of course at the same time we also have Mars in the 2nd opposite Uranus in the 8th, suggesting financial tensions, suggesting Uranus in the 8th can reveal some kind of debt you have that you forgot to pay, which is adding even more to the stress. Or your partner can go through a change, right? Like 8th house represents partners' resources. So maybe they are going through some kind of shift, right? Like they lose their job and now you have to handle everything, which just piles up on top of the existing stress, and you burst and you have a fight. So be mindful, be careful, and let me know how this resonates with you. How is this showing up in your life already? If you are a Scorpio rising, Mercury is entering your 2nd house, which is about making money from your knowledge, which is about writing or speaking and sort of trying to be financially savvy, right? But at the same time, it squares Saturn in the 5th, which to me suggests that there's pressures connected to love, there's pressures connected to your children or your creative children, right? Maybe you are starting a business. And Saturn in the 5th can really pull attention towards that business. Maybe you with Mercury in the 2nd house, maybe you feel ready to make a purchase, like to buy a car. But Saturn in the 5th says, no, you need to like invest in childcare, right? So, or even like having some kind of serious conversation surrounding values, your values and your partner's values. Maybe your creative partner sees a different direction for your business or your creative project. So like having to come to an agreement around values is very significant here, as well as potentially making some kind of financial sacrifices. And the Mars in the 1st opposite Uranus in the 7th even further highlights that relationship disagreement, right? Some kind of relationship tension. Uranus in the 7th could also bring sudden surprises coming from your partner, like they reveal that they want to go solo, right? And work on the business on their own. Or your husband tells you that they want to open up your marriage or something. There could be like shocking revelation, but then something that lets your relationship transform and change. Just be mindful of like being too rigid, being too stubborn, being too like me versus you, and too confrontational, I guess, around here. And let me know how this resonates and how this goes down below. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Mercury enters your 1st house on November 10th and immediately squares Saturn in the 4th. And this is very much you and your goals and your projects and your desires being stopped, being delayed, being blocked and restricted somehow by the home, family obligations, maybe the duties you have to your ailing parents, or the duties you have to the mortgage you have or to the child you have. So very kind of tense energy. I think you may be dealing with some sort of, family karma, even potentially blocking your growth. It could be healing. It could also be inviting you to come up with strategies to find a better home, to find better care for people in your life. Of course, it's not the easiest with Mars simultaneously opposing Uranus. Mars in the 12th, Uranus in the 6th. Uranus in the 6th can cause some kind of breakdown around health, you know, like a family member. I hope it's nothing crazy for all of us. I hope it's just like a minor inconvenience. But Uranus in the 6th can definitely create, like, you know, a family member gets a cold, let's say, or falls sick somehow, and you were just thinking that they're getting better, and you were just getting ready to take care of your own life and maybe start writing, maybe start, you know, changing your life, whatever it might be. And now Mars opposes Uranus and your plans get hijacked, they get affected. Something breaks down, right? Like you had a system, you had a plan, and something falls apart, calling you to problem solve. But initially it may feel difficult. This energy comes back later in the month between 22nd and 25th or 26th of November. So there's a lot of like, how can we navigate this currently complicated dynamic in the home, with the mortgage, with the family, with our land or property, so that there's still some freedom to do things we want to do. Please let me know how this resonates down below. For Capricorn risings, Mercury is entering your 12th house, which is the place of retreat, which is feeling more like you want to escape. Maybe you want to write in solitude and take care of projects connected to your imagination. Maybe you want to invest into therapy or do some kind of spiritual healing work. And then Mercury immediately squares Saturn in your 3rd house, which is suggestive of some kind of scheduling problems, travel delays and restrictions, writing projects. You were just getting ready to start like a new project, and then, sorry, my back is acting out a little bit. So maybe you've been getting ready to pursue things that are passion projects, but Saturn in the 3rd says, no, you need to rewrite this thesis, or no, you need to get your car checked because you cannot travel now. Or a sibling, Saturn in the 3rd can also create pressures around siblings or neighbors. They call up and ask for help, so you're feeling like you cannot get a break. And then at the same time, we also have Mars in the 11th opposite Uranus in the 5th, so there can also be some like surprises surrounding creative projects, surrounding love or children, some kind of breakdowns or breakthroughs that are calling for your attention. So maybe, you know, maybe the tension, maybe you cannot travel not because your car breaks down, but because your child, like their father cannot take care of them, so now you cannot travel and you need to figure out some kind of turnaround, workaround. So be careful of like snapping and yelling at your child or yelling at people in your life, or, you know, getting like physically confrontational, and try to be flexible and try to be mindful that this too shall pass. If you are an Aquarius rising, Mercury is entering your 11th house, which is indicative of busier social life. You are becoming more kind of involved with people, you're starting to network more, maybe you're more interested in going out, and it immediately squares Saturn in the 2nd, which is some kind of ideological disagreement, maybe, where you have a party that you're planning, and then the other person says that, you know, they want to make it pirates and you want to make it robots. Or you want to kind of, you're working on a group project and they want to have like this big get together and invest a lot of money into it, but you're struggling financially right now. So you feel like your dreams for the future, or your vision of the future, or even your connections to others are currently restricted by the finances or by different values. And then we also have Mars in the 10th opposite Uranus in the 4th at the same time, which could suggest, Uranus in the 4th can suggest that there is some kind of breakdown, breakthrough surprise, shocking situation happening in the family, like a pipe bursts, right? And maybe your financial restrictions come due to that. And then it's also affecting your house of career. So on some level, you're also questioning, how can you now pay for things, right? Like, do you need to change your job? Do you need to change your work situation because your parent needs you or something like that? So could be very frustrating. Like I said, there could be some kind of tensions and dramatic or changes happening surrounding home, family, real estate. Like a pipe bursting or a family member needing you, and that affecting your plans, that affecting your social kind of engagements, as well as financial restrictions that maybe come from the changes in the home or family and maybe need to be worked through. Don't look at it as like a restriction forever. Saturn usually says not yet, not no forever. Now, if you are a Pisces rising, Mercury enters your 10th house on November 10th and immediately squares Saturn in your first house. So Mercury in the 10th is ready to take professional action, right? Mercury in the 10th might be suggestive of you needing to speak in front of your boss, but Saturn squaring it, you get sick, right? You get a cold, or you are about to change careers and you hear from your doctor and they say that you need to have surgery, which will make you stay at home for a while, right? So somehow duties you have to yourself. Saturn in the first would be like pressures to self, pressures connected to your health, pressures connected to your physical body, affect your career. Maybe it's as simple as, but I keep thinking of health, right? But like maybe you need to start going to physical therapy or something and your work schedule doesn't allow it. So you're facing this difficult situation where you have to problem solve, you like have to take a step back and handle things slowly. Maybe you get a job offer, but you cannot take it because it's in a different state and you are attached, or not attached, but you feel like you want to live close to your parents. But look at this as like an opportunity to see where you're being too rigid, where you're being too narrow-minded potentially, because we also have Mars in the 9th house opposing Uranus in the 3rd, which is all about like ideological tensions, right? And ideological disagreements. So I would invite you to not cast blame really quickly, or not to assume that things are difficult, or sort of like make quick decisions, make snap judgments, but instead try to be flexible, try to be patient. Mars opposite Uranus in the 3rd can also bring surprises, breakdowns, breakthroughs connected to siblings, neighbors, writing projects, education, travel, something that you need to like problem solve around, and maybe deal with things being thrown up in the air and your schedule getting disrupted, and now you need to figure out like a different strategy. Please let me know how this resonates. Are you planning to travel around this time? If you are, try to like look around, double check your plans and let me know how this resonates. Check out my planner. Consider getting one for yourself, AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. And I will talk to you in the next video.